So what we saw during the EndSARS protest was the power that and the potential when women lead. Women were the engine room. I mean, that's like the term I like to use and sort of the term that comes to mind when I think about how they organized, how they mobilized, and how they raised funds. And not just for themselves, but to feed people, to ensure that people had access to medical treatment, to ensure that people had access to credits, right, to be able to do what they needed to do. And that's the power when women lead.
Àwọn obìnrin gangan náà kò sí nǹkan tá a lè ṣe, kò sí nǹkan tọkùnrin ṣe ń sìn tóbìnrin ò lè ṣe. Gbogbo nǹkan dáadáa náà làwa náà lè ṣe tílé ayé fi máa rọ̀.
First off, there's an underlying blindness to the value that women bring to the environment generally. If you've ever actually tried to manage the stereotypical position of a house, you would understand the amount of thought and meticulousness that goes into it. And so you realize that people who can expertly navigate that sort of reality by far are capable to, to administer managerial duties in a way that will properly bring about the results that we need.
But the EndSARS campaign showed us something, that when men and women come together to think, to strategize, to act, to make joint decisions, you see that level of diversity and inclusion. And this was what really drove the EndSARS campaign. It was because people came together, one vision. It just really drove that spirit of collectivism and what we really need in Nigeria to push the country forward.
I feel women are seen as powerful, but the society doesn't just want to acknowledge the power of a woman, hence why she's being suppressed instead of encouraged. And time again, women have definitely proven themselves, outdid the status quo, and done beyond what people expected of women or even men. And still, we're still, years and years after, we're still fighting for equal rights, representation, not just in politics, even at workplaces. Women are underpaid. I mean, and it definitely starts from not the family, it starts from you as an individual.
So wrong how we don't have enough female representation in government. Why can't we? Why can't we have women represent us in government? Why can't we have women as governors? Why can't we have a woman as a president?
It's the fact that women don't just serve themselves, but they serve everyone. And so one of the most exciting things now, I think, in Nigeria is no one is questioning if women can and should be leading.
I mean, it's a very beautiful time to be alive. When you think back to the EndSARS campaign or the protest and how powerful, how bold, how audacious women represented themselves. The impact, the infrastructure that backed the campaign, the sophistication, the mobilization, the organization, it points to one thing. What have we been thinking? I think it presents a very interesting case for anyone who has ever, had a doubt in their mind about the role, the strategic role women play in nation building.
Ṣebí ní America lọ́hùn yẹn obìnrin máa ń jẹ president tí nǹkan kò dẹ̀ ní títorí ẹ̀ ṣẹlẹ̀.
See, women are actually taking a stand here. So from this experience, you should know that women can actually do better in place of power.
Females are really doing good. You're doing a wonderful job. I'm also doing a wonderful job. I'm a photographer.
But everyone knows that women can lead. And so all those things around barriers, social cultural norms and religious sort of beliefs that have prevented and impeded women from, playing a significant role in decision making and positions of power, I think, are gone, right? Because people have seen this manifest real time. And I think that was one of the most amazing things. And so the question now is, what do we do next? And what do we do with all of that, all of that power that we saw? And I think that there are a few things.
We've got by-elections coming, we've got local government elections coming, and then we have 2023. Now is the time to act. Who are the female candidates? How can we back them? How can we support them? It's time for the citizens to really take on the role as active players in strengthening the democracy of our nation. And to do that, it means that you have to push for greater representation. And when you push for greater representation, it means that you put it upon yourself to consciously think about electing leaders that reflect the society that we have today. And that's men and women. That way, we have balanced policies across all areas.
It will be a nice balance to have more women learning the world, because generally, as we have seen, even from this EndSARS movement, a lot of women have been really taking it more serious than the guys as well. They've been in the front, making things happen, and we need that in government. So, I mean, we'd like to see more women in Nigerian politics for sure.
The truth of the matter is, everybody thinks women are not strong enough to occupy a particular position, and it's really a stereotype that we need to correct.
I honestly hope that as this is a revolution in terms of good governance, it's also a revolution in terms of like overarching mindset, and people place the value on women that they should.
I feel that there should not be gender bias in politics.
I think one interesting thing about the EndSARS campaign, and I think for me, it just really made us understand that, you see, we have a lot of human-made problems in Nigeria. Cultural stereotypes, religious stereotypes. Women cannot do this, women cannot do that. But why did women lead? So the people allow them to lead? I mean, these things are just so funny. We need to start thinking about those things. And it really makes me laugh, right? So there's selective discrimination. So does it mean that we'll let women lead when we want them to lead? So no more. You see that old, that excuse about cultural stereotypes, religious stereotypes. Yes, they're there, but they're human-made. And it's just time to put them behind us. Because the EndSARS campaign had women, intelligent, bold, strong women, leading with so much passion, with so much integrity, with so much transparency. I mean, for me, I kind of feel like after this, you're going to see a lot of institutions, a lot of universities, a lot of intellectuals study the infrastructure that drove one of the biggest movements of modern time era in Nigeria, the EndSARS campaign. And then you had women right at the fore of that. That is so powerful. So no more hiding behind religious and cultural stereotypes. We're done with that. We're ready for business. It's not business as usual anymore. Women deserve a place at the table. We're not even asking, we're demanding, because that's the fundamental right. Equal representation, greater representation. That is our duty of call as citizens to push for it. And so let the EndSARS movement was just a springboard. The passion we feel right now, everything we feel, the rush of emotions, these should translate into something so defining that would shape our future for the rest of our lives. People keep saying, let's do this for the future generation. I don't know. Let's do this for now. In my lifetime, I want to see a parliament that can attain parity, and that's 50-50. It's not so difficult to do. If people can only understand that we are doing this for the progression of the country. It's not women saying we want to come and take over, right? It's women saying we're equal players in the policy of a nation, and so we should be part of the highest level of decision making so that we can have balanced outcomes, we can have progressive policies And we can really fulfill the dreams of our founding fathers.
So we need to ensure that we support women to get involved in politics and in governance. And there are a few things and there are a few roles that women can play, right? So whether this is as candidates themselves, whether this is as empowered and enlightened voters, because I think that that's completely different from just being a voter. And then whether this is going forward as empowered and enlightened citizens, right? Because if you're empowered and you're enlightened, you take specific actions. And why this is important is there's just not elective office, but there's appointive office. And these are two categories that we should be looking at ahead of 2023.
tó bá jẹ́ Nàìjíríà wọ́n lè allow wa kán dẹ̀ gba àwọn obìnrin láyè kò sí nǹkan kan tó burú ńbẹ̀ tó ráwọ̀ obìnrin ni a mọ gbogbo nǹkan ṣe.
But specifically, when I start to think about the work we do at ElectHER, our focus is on ensuring that capable, competent women get elected, right? Ahead of 2023, we need to identify those women, right? And we need to begin to support them. In line with our 4E approach, you know, we need to engage, we need to encourage, we need to equip these women, and most importantly, we need to be enabling them with the financial, the human, and the social resources in terms of network and capital that they need. Yeah, so I mean, I'm just hoping that, you know, what we have seen and what we saw, you know, is harnessed and amplified so that in 2023, we will not be talking about less than 10% of women representation in political leadership in this country. So when 2023 comes, we must not forget what happened in 2020. We must all come out to vote a woman, because you can be sure, especially if ElectHER supports her, that she's capable and she's competent. So let's not go out there and forget everything that happened. Make sure that you're voting for candidates who will indeed improve your livelihoods, give you better access to healthcare, to education, and to economic opportunities. And we need men as allies. The power is currently in the hands of men. So if we're genuine about women taking up positions of leadership, then we need you men to support these women. Mentor a woman, support her, fund her, you know, open the door for her and show her the way. So we need men as allies.
So now let's talk about men as allies. We love our men, okay? And this is not a fight. We're saying in a highly patriarchal society, we can push for the advancement of women's political representation and leadership in isolation. This must be a collective effort. And so we need men. We need men to be bold. We need men to support the movement. The way men walked side by side with the women that led and drove the NSAS campaign. The way we aligned together, because something divine and something so spiritual happened. We should do that and carry that into 2023, all the elections before that. So I'm calling out to all men. This is not a fight for just women or about women. This is for all of us. This is for now. This is for the future. This is for a better economy, better healthcare system, better educational system, financial inclusion. Everything we want. Let's just put for equal representation. Our role at ElectHER is so pivotal. It's so crucial at this point in time. And we feel very humbled and very honored to be at the forefront of driving this initiative that seeks to get women elected, but we cannot do it alone. Everybody has a role to play. The citizens have a role to play. Government have a role to play. The civil society organizations have a role to play as gatekeepers. The international development agencies have a role to play. The diplomatic community have a role to play. The private sector have a role to play. But it's just time to cut the crap and stop politicizing everything. We need to come together in order to move forward. We need to call it what it is. Stop the systemic discrimination against women. Provide the level playing field for women to competitively run for office and win elections. Respect the place of greater representation in policy making and nation building. And trust me, this time around, things will be extremely different.